Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. I am super excited. Today we are talking to the amazing cartoonist Seraji. He just signed a deal with Cosmic Lion Productions to bring to you his amazingly epic, grand comic book, Fourth Dimensional. And I am super excited to talk about him. What a fresh new voice in comics, amazingly talented. I'm so happy he made time to talk to us today. We're going to talk about his comic book project, his deal with Cosmic Lion Productions, his art, his process, and all kinds of good stuff. So thank you for being here and welcome, Siraji.
Thank you for having me, Michael. I'm really excited to be on your show here. I think you do some really great stuff, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about the book.
Yeah, I have to say I recently interviewed your colleague Morgan Heron, who has the amazing comic book Frankie B. Monster, also from Cosmic Lion Production. Cosmic Lion Productions is like the fastest rising indie publisher, bringing amazing, great books. I mean, they published my Big Bang Comics anthology. I love Eli Schwab, the founder. He's doing so many amazing things. He seems to be like a magnet for amazing projects and talent like yourself. So maybe talk to us about how you got involved with Eli and how you were able to bring this project to him.
Of course. So, and yeah, I totally agree. Eli is this amazing guy and is pulling in all this great talent. Cosmic Line Productions has an awesome lineup of books that I'm happy to be part of now and bring Fourth Dimensional there. And so I first was introduced to Cosmic Line through Space Knights, which was a book created by Kevin Anthony Catalan. And I was a huge fan of that. I got the book, read that, and I would, as comic artists do, I would be messaging Kevin. We would be talking to each other. We started a correspondence. And eventually, when at the point where I was working on the third issue of Fourth Dimensional's first story arc, so that's the third issue, there's one and two, I was looking for a mentor to kind of help me with just some of the creation of the book. And so Kevin mentored me through the creation of the third book. We would meet weekly and everything. And, it would be both working on the comic and also just talking generally. And that's where he was telling me about Cosmic Lion and Eli. And yeah, as I continued working on the book, I would hear more from it. And I think I made it onto Eli's radar. We started talking ourselves. So yeah, at this point now we have the first three issues, and those were expanded and collected into Fourth Dimensional Summer of Fun. So this is the new book here. I ran a limited print run Kickstarter for it over the summer, and that's the first time I talked to Eli. We did this interview together to promote it, and now we're doing a much bigger print run for a reprint that'll be coming out with Cosmic Lion. So it's available for pre-order now.
Well, that is so awesome, and I have to say, I will definitely be putting a link for you able for the viewers to pre-order this book. And I was completely blown away. Like I read the book in full yesterday in preparation for the interview, and the previews I had seen and the recommendations I had heard on you were nothing but glowing. And it did look interesting, but I hate to be that person, but I don't think I was prepared for like how freaking awesome it really is. Like before we get into the book, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about your comics journey, like what interested you in comics, how long you've been a fan, what kind of books you were reading, and maybe how you decided that you would want to make your own comics and stuff like that?
100%. So the first comic I was introduced to was Calvin and Hobbes. It was my mom's old copy. It was one of those like treasuries, and I remember being like confused by it. I had never seen a comic before, so I didn't even know how to read it. I was like reading across both pages, trying to read like that. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense, and like teaching myself how to read comics. And then it was quickly Bone with the Scholastic recolors, which were super popular with the kids my age growing up. So Calvin Hobbes and Bone were my first two comics, and they're still two of my favorite comics. I've reread both countless times. And yeah, from there, I was reading everything comics. I think when I was growing up, it was this amazing time where you had access to everything. Where I feel like maybe in the just in the '90s before that, there was much less access to stuff like manga and all these things. So I was reading things from Dragon Ball and Death Note to comic strips to your mainstream superhero comics, taking it all in. And I pretty quickly decided as a kid, I'm like, I want to be a comic artist. Um, and yeah, I think once I made it to the age of like 19 and I had taken a step back and considered other options with like where I could go career wise and just with my life, I was like, no, if I'm going to do anything and I'm going to put an effort in like pursuing any career, I want it to be comics. I want it to be something that I love and I'm passionate about. And yeah, I came up with the character of Mon, who is the one of the protagonists of Fourth Dimensional, and started expanding the story around him in the world and delved into the comics creation.
He reminded me like visually a little bit of that Omega character or like the Ultraman perhaps. Like maybe that was a little bit of an influence. I read in your afterword about how, you know, it was like kind of a journey for you to sort of get the confidence to like world build and stuff like that. I'm always amazed by, you know, like people like you and Nick Cagnetti and you know, who are able to like create these fully developed worlds. And that's always been intimidating for me as a creator. You know what I mean? It's one thing to sort of go into a world that already exists. You know what I mean? If you're going to make a Spider-Man comic book, you don't need to make New York City. You know what I mean? It already exists. And if you have a grasp of what that's supposed to be like, you can convey that well. But to start from the ground up is completely ambitious. So uh, how did you find that confidence, or what did it take to lead you to create such a fully developed world and like such an inviting one at that? I really enjoyed your book so much, I can't tell you.
Thank you a lot. And real quick, that was right there, the pinup that Nick actually did for Fourth Dimensional, which
I
was
was
really
very
awesome because I was
pleased to see
I was a big
that.
fan of Pink Lemonade, and he
I
was
was
really kind
also
about doing the pinup for me.
I was also very pleased to see a pinup by Morgan in there. I
Yeah,
love the camaraderie. I love the, you know, the family feel, the sort of like goodwill towards other creators and just like, I don't know, sharing the fun. You know what I mean? We're all here because we love to draw. So why not share your art with me, right?
yeah, exactly. But yeah, to hit the rest of your question there, I think like I said, I created this character and he intrigued me and he really stuck in my head. Um, and I would like have little notes things on my phone and like Google Docs and just sketches in my sketchbook of different characters and different parts of the world. And it really started like blowing up to this large scale. And especially at the time, it was uh kind of inconceivable for me to think about like drawing the scale that the story will be reaching. Because you know, I hadn't been seriously drawing comics to the level that I felt I needed to, and it was something that was holding me back. And this idea that I need to get better at my art before I can make comics, before I can make real proper comics. And then I discovered the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel while I was looking for stuff to do, stuff to watch while I was working on assignments and drawing. Uh, and that gave and watching Ed Piskor and Jim Rook their videos gave me this confidence of I'll just make the comics and I'll worry about getting better as I'm making them. So with that kind of reinstilled confidence, I started giving kind of these bite-sized pieces of the world. The first issue's material for Summer of Fun is all these different short stories. So they range from like 1 pagers to 7 pagers, and it allowed me to put the characters in different scenarios and uh, figure out their voices, figure out how they would react in different situations. And by the time you get into the second and third issues, the story focuses down and pulls different plot threads into like this climactic finish in the third issue.
So maybe you should tell us like a summary, like what's the basic gist of the book? What's it about? What's your elevator pitch if you
Yeah,
needed to explain it to somebody?
of course. So, and that's really important. Fourth Dimensional is about two characters, about this guy, Mon. He's an extra dimensional fugitive who's escaped to Earth, and this girl, Ava. So, Ava is at this crossroad in her life. She's graduated from high school. She doesn't know what she wants to be doing. And then this fugitive falls right into her life, literally. So, Mon turns out to be that unlikely ally Ava didn't know she needed. But unfortunately, he's brought all the dangers and oddities of his dimension with him. So you get to see encounters with other fugitives who have escaped and other creatures. So it's this urban sci-fi adventure story.
I think it like the character is a very cool design. He seems like almost purposely like sort of a little bit of a blank slate. I noticed he does seem to change like color schemes throughout the story, and I wasn't exactly sure why. I really
Right.
love the aesthetic of his design. I think it's very interesting that he has an almost non-existent face, but then he has this almost like God, how do I put this like correctly? But this like very attractive physique. Like, do you know what I mean? Like his
Yeah.
body is like very like, he's like got a great wingspan, he's got this tiny
Yeah.
waist and this great build. And I just thought it was an interesting juxtaposition for a face that is almost devoid of any sort of detail at all.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
what
and
what
that's
went
that's one of
into
the
the aesthetic of that?
of course. So that Mon's face is one of the things that I love playing with when drawing the comic. It's that whole idea of the like in Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, the reductive qualities of face and like how much you can still get out of that, how much you can project and relate to these simple expressions that come from just the eyes, like these circular eyes on this blank face. So I think that's part of it is how much it increases the relatability of the character, but then also Mon's kind of this mysterious character, and that's something that you are learning more about him as you read the comic. Is that you still don't know his past and why this kind of this starry-eyed, happy-go-lucky character was apparently this kind of really dangerous fugitive for some reason, and that goes into it as well. He's this blank slate, so you don't know everything that's behind those eyes, and I think that's something that's going to be explored as the story progresses as well. So that goes into that. With the physique, I think it's something that you can see the character's physique kind of change and progress as the story continues, as my style develops. To the point by the end, he almost has this kind of uh, androgynous appearance where he does have like kind of skinnier waist, wider hips, but still has those really pronounced shoulders. It's something that I wanted as my style developed, make him a little bit less your typical really bulky superhero physique and something that's more slim and yeah, like I said, androgynous. Yeah. So I think that hopefully answers the question there.
It does. It's very interesting. I also like I love your writing style too because it's was speaking again of the juxtaposition. It's like we have this like really crazy character from this fantastic world and he's sort of thrust into our world and he very quickly gets into a relationship with I'm sorry, what was her name again?
Ava.
Ava. And I just found it almost hilarious and sort of depressing in a way how quickly he's like relegated to the mundane stuff of our human existence up to and including like just being bitched at by his girlfriend. Like he just seemed a little deflated. um I just thought that that was like very interesting. Like there's so like I mean it is so epic. Like so this started out as like a 4-issue miniseries basically and this is that collected.
Yeah, so it was originally these 3 issues. The first issue was a little longer. But yeah, so 3 issues totaling 100 pages, and now the final book is 124 pages with all its additional material.
So you cited, Calvin and Hobbes and Bone. Uh, but you had mentioned manga, and I am sorry to say that I've never been like, I have nothing against manga. I appreciate the aesthetic and the art. I think that maybe I'm just so conditioned to American comics. Like I was at a store last week and I picked up a manga book and sure I was like I'm gonna give this a chance and just it was so weird to me to like read from right to left and like all
Right.
that stuff so but I was like but then reading your comic book I was like if this is like the feel and flavor of manga if this is like a driving force behind it like what an amazing influence, right? Like
Mhm. I think there's a huge manga influence in my work, and less so in just the style. It's not like the like just pulling the big eyes and anything like that. It's more kind of in the storytelling and how your like stories in manga they often grow, and like when you read Dragon Ball or One Piece or anything, they start at like a much smaller scale and grow to like points that you weren't even seeing from where they started. That, and then also I really love juxtaposing almost these kind of slice of life elements with moments of like huge climactic action and battle. I think that's like really fun in stories. So that's those are the things I try and bring in from manga.
Well, I think you did it very well because I feel like I was like hooked in like very early on and like so there for the ride. Like I was like, I need to be part of this journey. I wherever you wanted to take me, I was gonna go there. So I definitely look forward to seeing more. Is this your only project? Have you done other things before this or
So I've done just a few things. I actually the first thing I did for Fourth Dimensional, and this was before even the short stories, was this kind of like I call it the lost issue at this point. And this was a 24-page black and white, and it's the art is a lot more rough, and I'm like figuring stuff out. And this had an extremely limited print run. So once I did that, I had my first foray into telling the story, and then I kind of dropped that. That was almost my tester into the world, and that's when I started with the first issue of Summer of Fun. So Fourth Dimensional has been kind of this vehicle of me getting into my comics career. So it's been my main focus. I'm just now starting to, I've been doing some pinups and working on like covers for other comics and other projects, which has been really fun. And yeah, it's something I totally see myself doing, like doing a few volumes of Fourth Dimensional, then work on another project coming back. I think that's always really great. And I love seeing that with other creators when they have this project they start with and return to after they've really developed and really continued finding their voice as a creator.
it's funny because the most refreshing thing for me about like interviewing young creators like you and new and upcoming like publishers and cartoonists is that I feel like from like the generation I came from, like if you had a desire to make comics, it's because you wanted to work for Marvel or DC, period. And that was pretty much it, unless you were gonna self-publish your own comics. And I'm so glad to see like this crop of artists who really don't seem to care much about that and are just more interested in like making their own way in comic books and making their own stamp. As I discussed with Morgan, I had recently saw a post from Mike Mignola, one of his big influences, who was like, that's great to work for Marvel and DC and do that and make the money and take the money, but make sure you do something for yourself. Make sure you have something for yourself. And he has something for himself with Mike Mignola. So I think that that was really great advice. And so, straight out the gate, wherever your career takes you, whether that's to Marvel or whatever, you know what I mean? You'll always have Fourth Dimensional. So I love to see that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something that when I think any kid who's wanting to draw comics will, um, like I wanted to draw Batman. At one point, that was the thing. I'm like, I want to be a Batman artist. That would be the pinnacle. And then once I started seriously making these comics, I was like, I don't want to draw Batman. I want to tell my own stories. I want to create my own characters. This is what I'm interested in. And it's not to say I wouldn't work on like the right project for an existing property or like the big two or anything, but creating my own stories is something I always want to have in my career as a cartoonist and as a comic artist.
I am so glad you brought that up, though, because there's a child in your story with a Batman t-shirt on. And
Yeah.
my first initial thought was these fanboys just cannot help themselves. And my second thought was, but it also proves my theory that every comic book creator, cartoonist has a Batman story in them. And if they don't, they wouldn't turn it down. Like everybody wants to work on Batman. Everybody wants to draw Batman. He undoubtedly, like, who wouldn't want to? Like, but I just thought that that was kind of funny because it's like at the end of the day, as indie deep roots as it is, there's still this like presence of Batman there that I don't know, it just sort of was like funny to me in a way.
Hmm. Well, I think yeah, like so many of us grew up with the character in any way, and even if you aren't a fan of like current Batman comics, which I'm not, I haven't read Batman comics since I was a teenager, but there's still the memory of the Batman that I really liked. So like yeah, everyone has some interest in doing it, from the most like alternative creators to the most mainstream. Yeah, who would turn that down?
Well, I think that's like the thing with Batman right now is like the main books might not be the greatest. I think where you want to look is like the special projects. Like yes, give me
Hmm.
Raphael Grandpa's Batman.
Yes,
Give me
exactly.
Mark Silvestri's Batman. I will take it. Those are the most buzzer-worthy, exciting ones. And maybe Batman should just be special projects. I don't know. You know, the state of the comic book industry is very much in flux as far as monthly comics and things like that. So, you know, people decry the death of comics, and I think that you're an example of why comics are not dead or dying. You know what I mean? There are plenty of people like you and Morgan and Eli and myself making, you know, fun comic books that we just want to make for the love and joy of comic books. And you don't, I mean, it would be nice if Marvel and DC could get their shit together and, you know, produce like some really great quality books that everyone could get excited about. And, but you know what I mean? I don't think it should live or die on their success. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm all the comics I'm reading now are pretty much just indie comics, like stuff coming from Image, like anything Daniel Warren Johnson or James Herron create. I've been loving Kaya by Wes Craig. Um, yeah, I think indie comics are thriving. There's like they're putting out some of the best stuff at present, you know. So yeah, I think it's a really great time to be a comics reader and a comic creator.
I think, and one thing indie comics have like a slight stigma of quality, and maybe as an art snob myself, maybe I had a little bit of that, but just from prior experience, I feel like going into an indie comic, you know, I review a lot of indie comics on my channel. All creators are welcome to send me their indie books, no matter how like crude they are. I don't care if you printed them in your basement on some copy machine or something like that. Like I think all comics are valid and worthy. But I do think that there is, you know, like maybe a lack of editorial or some sort of cohesion in that sometimes there's always a nugget of something missing. Like it's really good, but there's just like the story element that's wonky or something like that. But in this new crop of people like you and Nick Cagnetti and Morgan and like it's so good. Like there's none of that. Like it's so well realized. The stories make sense. You know, they're just so thoughtful and imaginative. And the art is just like speaks for itself. Like you talked a little bit about your process, which I found interesting. Um, so apparently you like draw on paper, but then or draw on blue line. Are you doing the roughs digitally and then printing them out and then
Yeah,
inking on
so I do.
boards? Or you tell
Mhm.
us, you tell us.
Sure, sure. So I've actually, for the first book, I did a big mix of it but I was pretty much doing my pencils in blue line, whether that be blue line just on paper, or for a lot of it, I would also do it. I would do my pencils digitally, then print it out, and then ink right on top. So here's an example of that for one of the pages in the book.
Gorgeous. That is
So
amazing.
then after I've inked it on the page, I scan it and color it digitally. So I do all my own colors. And I think as I was working on the book, that became a huge part of my process. I can show that page here in print. And this is from like
Amazing.
this nightmare
Stunning.
sequence, really like bold, day glow colors. I think the boldness of my work is something I've continued figuring out and making it like this tool and creating kind of this unique palette and this unique approach to my colors and my storytelling. So I can just show a few pages there from the book.
Yeah, I found your art very interesting because at first I was just like, you know, like blown away, like I like on a psychedelic trip, like this is beautiful, this is amazing, this is gorgeous. And once that sort of wore off and I was able to just like get into the story, like I felt like you did a good job. You know, it wasn't just bells and whistles and flash and color. Like, you know, it read very well as far as the storytelling and but then like necessarily like you would you know come in and give us some amazing piece of art and just like blow me away, so I felt it was very dynamic in that way.
Thank you. And it's something I actually just remember I forgot to answer. You were talking about how Mon would change colors and stuff, and it goes into my approach with the coloring is I was inspired by some other artists and their use of non-literal colors. And I think I really prefer a graphic approach to coloring in comics rather than a really almost like this realism approach with a lot of like airbrushy rendering and stuff. I prefer like graphic colors, like Dave Stewart and Mike Mignola, or you know, some of your Japanese creators like Hirohiko Araki with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, really using colors that aren't meant to just reflect reality, but are meant to like emphasize emotion in the comic, and it's something that you can only really get in the like in storytelling in the form of comics. So that's something I've brought a lot into my work. So as you're going through, you see how the colors change as the emotional beats change, and Mon becomes this perfect kind of vessel for that, where different stories have different color palettes, and his color will match them. So normally you see him in this blue color, but sometimes he'll be orange, sometimes he'll be like in these serious moments. His colors will shift to like a deeper red or something, you know.
I mean, since you brought up color, like I'm an artist, but I do a lot of coloring, and I love color. I'm known for my bright colors. Color is amazing. It's such an important storytelling tool. And it's so impressive. Like, you know, Morgan and I talked about that, so how important color is to the storytelling. And it's so refreshing to see like you guys like be so aware of that and know that it's like such an important part of the storytelling. Like Nick Cagnetti, once again, is just like an amazing colorist. It's like, so where does your color inspiration or education come from?
I think a lot of it came from studying both like fine art and illustrators, going from, you know, your kind of pop art artists to like modern illustrators like your Tomoe Inukas, but also obviously other comic artists and comic colorists. For the creators I was pulling a lot from over the course of the book were creators like Mike Spicer on Danny Warren Johnson, Dave Stewart on artists like Mike Mignola, James Herron, Tamara Bonvillain, who colored Nick Darrington, one of my favorite creators. That's actually a Nick Darrington original there, on Doom Patrol, and Jordi Belair, who colored Leonardo Romero on the Killjoys. So these colorists have this, all of them have really graphic approaches, bold use of colors, and all of them emphasize the comic artist they were coloring. You know, I think you would, if you saw, for example, Leonardo Romero's work without Jordi Belair's color, it doesn't hit the same. So these colorists, what like just realizing that these colorists are bringing to these artists' work something that gives it this new layer of appeal. And I'm doing that for my own work and making sure that the colors are bringing a new flavor to the line work and making it sing in this way that, you know, the final work will draw in a lot more people than if they just saw the line work. While also, you know, line work's important, but making it like making them complement each other.
So why Cosmic Lion Productions and not, why didn't you try to go to like an Oni Press or Image, or maybe you did, or like
So I think Cosmic Lion was this great fit for my book. The line, like, I think Fourth Dimensional fits right alongside comics like Space Knights and like Frankie, while being this, while bringing this appeal that maybe those other books, like it can appeal to a newer audience as well. I think each of these books have their audience, but Cosmic Lion has also the benefit of being this smaller publisher where you can have uh, more more discussion with the publisher, and more control over how the book is being created. So in the printing of this, in how we market it, all this has been conversations between me and Eli, and it's something I don't think you would have with a bigger publisher, just being able to like shoot off a message, and then have that kind of happen, you know, like be like, oh, can we get the book printed on this stock, or how will this work? You know, it makes it really great, and it lets me as a creator grow with the publisher.
I think that is one of Eli's strengths and secret powers as a publisher, is like I feel like he really trusts his talent, but he also is a good guiding force if you need him, and definitely knows what he's doing and how to make it happen in a great way. very
Mhm.
supportive, very pro comics, very like it is a good home to be with. I love seeing you and Morgan there. I love a lot of the books that he publishes. Like it's amazing. I feel like it's like a renaissance. Like he's like the Kamiko, if you know what Kamiko is from
No,
back
of
in the
course,
day.
yeah.
But it's
Hmm.
sort of definitely like that. So what is the plan moving forward with Fourth Dimensional? Do you plan? I mean, obviously, you've built this incredible world, and it felt like it was pretty much left open ended. So I definitely see more coming in this world.
Exactly. So, yeah, the first book is complete. It is 120 pages. I'm working on the next book now, so I can actually show you. This is the stack for the next book.
Wow.
That's already what I've got done for the next story arc of Fourth Dimensional. And if you'd like, I can give you a sneak peek at one of the pages.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. All right. So here's a big splash page of one of the new characters you'll be seeing in the
Wow.
next story arc.
That is cool. And like I already see an evolution in your art, honestly. So I mean, not that it, uh I mean, like, yeah, it's fine. It is interesting to see. Like, I definitely noticed the evolution of your art from the beginning of the book to the end, and that is always fun to see.
Mhm. So yeah, this thank you. This next story arc is going to be even longer, probably around 160 pages. I'm about 50 pages in, a little over 50 pages into the book. So I've been grinding on that. We're actually going to have, and I'll be properly announcing it, but I can say it here. We're going to have a sampler issue, so it's going to be a double-sized issue, giving collecting the first two chapters of the next story arc available at Emerald City Comic Con. So this will be a
Awesome.
convention exclusive. This will be a convention exclusive. It'll have your first taste, the new story arc, and I'm really excited to receive that in print and get that out there into people's hands. So if you're going to Emerald City Comic Con, be sure to pick up a copy because, as far as we're thinking here, this will be something you can only get at the convention. And once I've completed the book, we'll release it in a nice volume, just like the first one. And that was just how I prefer to do it. I really love reading comics as trade, like in trade form. It's just a nicer package. You can put it on the shelf. You don't need to worry about bagging and boarding. And um, yeah, it's just what I wanted my comics to be because it's how I love reading other people's comics.
So, I mean, it seems pretty commercial. Have you thought about the possibility of like, selling the rights for theatrical or animation or anything like that? I know it's probably like way soon to even think about stuff like that, but it has to cross your mind, right?
Yeah, of course. I think that I think like animation is what appeals to me just I think as an artist, but like yeah, the idea of an animation would be incredible and seeing kind of faithful adaptations of stuff like that's coming out now like Invincible or like Scott Pilgrim, the new anime. These are these awesome kind of adaptations that also enhance the work and can like let the creators revise their stories and maybe even take them in slightly different directions. But I think those are really cool and those give me kind of this excitement about the idea of doing that. But first and foremost, it's something that I would never want to like. Fourth Dimensional is something I would want to be relegated to just working on the brand and losing focus on the comics because the comics for me are like first and foremost. I'm a cartoonist and this is what I want to be doing. If I can if something else ever comes up and that's a possibility, I'd love like that would be amazing. But that's kind of the you know the extra goodness. I'm forgetting the expression, but
Are there
the comics
other
the number one priority.
Are there other worlds or ideas you have outside of Fourth Dimensional that you would, I mean, of course, every creator does, but anything you're cooking up or would like to explore outside of Fourth Dimensional?
Definitely, I've several other ideas for stories and stuff, and it's just about finding the time to work on them. I think right now at this point, those are kind of on the back burner because I need to finish this story arc that I'm working on now. I think once I've got like the next volume out, that gives me the chance to maybe work on some other ideas, work with some other creators. But yeah, so the answer is yeah, definitely.
So you'll be at Emerald City Con, you said, and
Yeah,
I know Eli's there, so you'll be at his table or
I actually got a table in the artist alley. I
Oh,
think
okay.
publishers won't be will be in a different section just because they want the artist alley to be just for the artists. So we'll both be there. Me and Eli, you can come to both our tables, come say hi. It's actually my first convention in the States. I'm up in Vancouver, so I'm really excited for that. I also 2 weeks before that, so not not this weekend here, but the next weekend of March, or sorry, February 17th. Sorry, February 17th to 19th is Vancouver Fan Expo, and I'll be there. It's my first time at that convention as well. It's kind of the biggest convention in Vancouver, so I'm excited for that. And then, yeah, Emerald City at the end of February into early March.
Is Emerald City your first time like being at a con as a creator, or have you done this before?
I've done several cons as creator. I've been like when I was selling from the first issue, I was like selling that at cons, and that was cool to kind of build fans locally who would come back for every new issue that I'd have. But yeah, so I've done several cons in and around Vancouver, but this will be my first time kind of, and hopefully, I'll be doing even more in the States, but this will be my first time down there.
Yeah. Well, cons are addictive. So once you get started, you probably won't be able to stop.
Yeah,
How do
I
you
think that'll
like
be
the
really great.
how have you enjoyed the con experience? How has it been for you?
I think so far it's been really great. Very tiring. You just got to stand all day. But and as you know, I think a lot of comic artists would prefer just staying in their space and like being a hermit working on their comics. But I think it's a great chance to go out and talk to people and show off your work. Um, I've had really great experiences, and it's something that I'm excited for to continue doing at like bigger and bigger conventions.
Do you sell sketches and commissions and things like that,
Yeah.
and
So I
prints
do
and
sketch cards. I'll be doing commissions. I have prints, stickers, got it all.
so before your deal with Cosmic Lion, you were basically just self-publishing these comic book, your Fourth Dimensional.
Exactly. So with the single issues, I was actually getting them printed at a print shop, and then I would fold, staple, and cut every single one by hand. So if you have any of the issues, which they're all out of print now, pretty much, those are all kind of like handcrafted items almost. And then with the initial printing of Summer of Fun, that was the first time I got to just send the files off to a printer and have them put it together. Um, and yeah, so this will be what is reprinted with Cosmic Lion, and it's really great to have the extra time of working on the comics and not having to assemble single issues and spend like 8 hours just cutting like 100 comics.
I know, and but the collectability of those babies, right? I mean, those
Mm-hmm.
are going to be definitely unique pieces in the Seraji collection for sure. And
Yeah.
before we started, you did ask me if I knew how to pronounce your name correctly. To me, it looks very straightforward with Seraji. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
such a great name, like very catchy, very memorable, very like much the name of somebody who's going to be doing things in life.
Thank you so much, Dan. Yeah, I think because I just go by my last name professionally, and it's something that I think has this kind of aesthetic charm with the JI, and yeah, I just thought it was something that would help stick in people's brains.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. So aside from your big deal with Cosmic Lion Productions and pinups and stuff like that here and there, and you're
Mhm.
working on the next arc of Fourth Dimensional.
Exactly. And working on some commissions and stuff as well. So I'll be having my list open there, but here's an example of like a TMNT piece I did.
Wow, that is freaking amazing. That is so
Thank
cool.
you. Thank you.
Um,
So yeah, I'll be doing more commissions like these as well. And so yeah, if anyone wants a commission, they can reach out to me on Instagram or anything.
so we're at the pre-sale stage. So when will the book be available to get into everyone's hot little hands?
Yeah. So the book is off to print now. Uh, it should be we should have them in our hands late February. I think that we'll have these kind of Kickstarter editions at Emerald City along with that con exclusive single issue for the next story arc. Soon after that, though, we'll have the reprints of these guys. And yeah, so the pre-orders will be up for about a month, and then we'll start getting them out in people's hands.
Well, that is so cool. I wish you so much success. Like, it is such a great book. Like, I definitely will be putting the link for the pre-order in here. And as I often tell my viewers, like, do not sit on this. Like, this is like an amazing book. I think that, you know, I think comic books can be such a great discovery. So many times, I've been so impressed and blown away by things that, I may not have been privy to otherwise. I definitely looked you up at, Morgan's suggestion, but I'm sure I would have discovered you at some point anyway. Is there anything you want to share with the viewers about yourself or your comic book or comics in general before we wrap this up here today?
I think that, yeah, just that there are so many good comics out right now, and that it makes me really happy anytime anyone's reading my stuff, because there's so much good stuff out there, and it's impossible to read it all. But I think Fourth Dimensional is this special thing I have here, and something I really believe in. This story arc has this first book has so much of my passion and efforts poured into it, and I hope that that comes across when people read it and they enjoy the book. So yeah, if you are interested in the book Fourth Dimensional, this urban sci-fi adventure story, please pre-order it now. Yeah, and hopefully you'll stay tuned for what I have next for Fourth Dimensional and for my other work.
Well, congratulations on your success and your future successes. I'm so happy to have discovered you, and I'm so happy to hopefully expose my viewers to your amazing cartooning, because you're definitely a name to remember and an artist to keep an eye on. Your book is fantastic. It looks amazing. Like, the quality level is like beyond. So congratulations on that. And I look forward to getting a physical copy when it comes out. And I look forward to seeing what you do next, and as you continue on in your comic book career. So thank you so much for talking to us today. I really appreciate your time and your talent. And just thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael.
My pleasure. So, like I said, I will put the link to Seraji's book in the description. Fourth Dimensional Summer. I'm sorry,
Summer of Fun.
Summer of Fun. I mean, like, look at that great cover. So definitely get on the pre-order tip. If you're going to Emerald City Con, make sure you check out Seraji and look for him. Definitely a great voice and cartooning, and an exciting new and upcoming artist. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being with us today, Seraji. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I will bring you guys more soon. Bye, Seraji. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.